Hi everyone, this is AlphaAli. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's alright. Today we're doing a gold free VOD view of someone called Tyler from my Twitch chat. They essentially saved up 5,000 channel points on my Twitch streams, and then essentially they could redeem the VOD view. So here I'm going to be doing it now. Once again, you can do your own VOD reviews and stuff like that. Just purely by getting 5,000 channel points, redeem it, send me a code, and I'll do it live on stream, and then they get uploaded to YouTube afterwards. So this is Tyler, gold free. What's it called? Mercy player. And looking at the comp that you have at this very moment in time, we have a Bastion, Genji, Moira, Mercy, and Sigma. So I would say your kind of main damage boost target here would be your Bastion, specifically when he's in turret form and stuff like that. Then of course you've got what's it called? Genji. Genji is really good to damage boost. He's a little bit harder to follow through because of the GA nerfs and stuff like that. But yeah, and then obviously we have the Sigma, which is he's good for the what's it called? The thing. The rock thing. That's what I mean. And obviously Moira's Orb as well is great. I don't really like the Moira Mercy kind of support comps and stuff like that, but then again they are running what it looks like being Mercy Lucy on the other team, so it's all good. Anyway, so we're going in, already got the blue beam on the Bastion, which is really, really nice. Love where you're positioned right now. Under the cover and stuff like that. Nice beam. Lovely backwards GA to go and help your Genji and stuff as well. My only thing is I would kind of change my camera position here, because at the moment it's very much you're just stood here looking at your blue beam target. I would be kind of looking a little bit so much flicking, because it seems like you're on a high sense, which is always really, really good. I always say to Mercy's, stick it on a high sense and the aim will come with it at some point. But instead of just looking just directly at your beam target here, I'd be looking to kind of look at the rest of your team, and maybe even doing a little directional GA and playing from this cover instead here, just so you can be a little bit more involved in the team fight and stuff. But still, you're doing really, really well at this very moment in time. I love how you're looking out for your Genji now. Yeah, can't do anything there, so that's all good. Nice GA across. I like that GA note to avoid cast and stuff. Nice. I think here, just kind of look back at your team a little bit before you go for that res there. Just purely because you don't want any of your team to die while you're doing that res. Specifically because the Moira is very, very out of the way. You don't need to heal the Sigma here. Because obviously, what's it called? The Moira can just heal the Sigma and stuff like that. You can literally just sit here with the Bastion back here kind of thing. Let the Moira do the healing. Moira's healing output is insane compared to Mercy's, so you can literally just leave it. As long as it's not below half HP and stuff, like your Moira is right now. But yeah. As this, you should also still be trying to look at your Genji here, still kind of flick your camera a little bit here to look at the rest of your team, because it seems like you're very kind of tunnel visioned onto the what's it called. I love this looking behind though, and there's just a case of flankers. But at the same time, look at the enemy team and be like, oh, they don't really have any flankers or anything. If they have a Sombra or something, 100%. I like the damage boost onto the ult there and stuff like that. And you were very what's it called? You were very focused on damage boosting that and stuff like that. And I loved how you kind of left it to the last minute to heal your Sigma. But as soon as the free shots have been released by Bastion, then you can go straight to healing him. But you did really well with that damage boost then. That was really, really good. And then obviously heading back against the Ramattra and stuff like that. I guess you just kind of playing Ring Around of Roses with him and stuff like that. I don't think you can really do anything to help your Bastion there and stuff like that. Unlucky with that Genji. A risky res. I think to do that res, you can, what's it called, just kind of hop around the corner a little bit more. You do what is called a bunny hop, and you can boom, boom, and kind of come around here. Just to make that res a little bit safer, because obviously this Lucio can, obviously he saw you do it. And if he started challenging you and booping you and stuff, if you're around the corner, it cuts that LOS out. But I like this res. I'm going to see how this res kind of turns out, because a Bastion in the backline with a damage boost can do a lot. And obviously you've only just lost your Genji, which is fair enough. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't have abandoned your Bastion here, right? I think the main thing is because like everyone's still quite healthy. Like your Moira's only missing a few bits of HP, and you're kind of like putting yourself into like a bit of risk where you don't need to, especially because you just res this Bastion turret form, bam, just instantly wipes people off the planet pretty much. So just kind of like stick with him with this damage boost and only really go in to go and help your Moira and your Sigma if they desperately need help. But you go back to on like damage boost and stuff. Okay, so they've got a Mei now, so obviously you probably like be knowing that and stuff like that. Instead of playing like round the bot here, especially because you have other people to push it, I'd recommend kind of like coming over here and playing like these like kind of pillars instead, just because you're very kind of bunched up with your team right now. And is that someone that's died? Or is that, oh, I think it's the oh, it's the Lucio. I was like, what is this? Like, I realized it's the Lucio, and I was like, there's someone behind. Oh my word. Nice heal onto here. You're stood very out in the open here. You kind of like, once again, like as I was saying, like try and like play off to those sides kind of thing. Because if they suddenly decide to switch to Widow, which some people like to on this map, they could just come up onto these like bridges or onto here and then pew, you know, you're dead. Head chops off, dead, you know. So just kind of like try to play off a little bit more to the side here. Like, because you can push this robot like from like literally over here. Like the robot has such a massive push area to be able to do. So it's like, what's it called? You can literally like play off to these, like you can literally play around here and it probably like push it. I don't know the exact logistics and stuff, but you don't need, basically my kind of like thing is that it's not like the payload map, so it's like you have to be physically like on the payload or right next to it. You can play a little bit further away. Yeah, you weren't helping your Moira there, which is fair enough. And yeah, you're kind of in a, okay. You kind of like started off this in a bad spot, and I think it's because you were still wanting to push this payload, right? You were kind of like looking at the Moira and be like, oh no, what should they do? When in fact, just play over here, because your Sigma can push this fine. You can literally, what's it called? Play off to the side, play with your Bastion here and stuff like that. And then you can go and like help out your Sigma and stuff, and I think that's how you ended up with like this little panic state of like, oh my word, what do I do? Like, you know, literally just play off with your Bastion here, damage boost and stuff like that. And then you can always like back off round if you need to help your Sigma. Because bear in mind, you started like healing your Sigma as soon as you lost like a little this tiny HP. Sigma has a lot of HP. And plus he has like regenerated shields and stuff like that. So anyways, so the Bastion dies, fair enough. So instead of just like walking back as you are, you should be trying like to GA from cover to cover here and stuff like that to get back. If you want to get back safely, like with your what's it called, with your Sigma, because all these people now all have direct LOS of you that's like jumping about around here, right? What you want to be doing is like either like waiting for your Sigma to pass and doing like slingshots, or you could do like some backwards GAs where it's like you can like play off to the side and then kind of like GA over to the covers and stuff like that, basically, instead of just like walking back like what's it called, like you are right now. And this Lucio seems like he's coming after you. Oh, I thought we were going to get a little bit of a Glock out, but Lovely decides to damage boost instead. Nice damage boost on the Coalescence. I love damage boost in Coalescence. But it's the same thing where it's like you need to come off to the side a little bit more. Very nice. Nice escape. I don't think you could, because your Moira kind of just faded, just kind of like left you. Lovely escape though, and like looking for options as well. Very, very nice. And you got out that really nicely. I'm hoping you're going to Valk soon. Okay. I think the Valk might have been a little bit too late. Just purely because I would have like used it a little bit sooner before the like everything kind of kicked off. Because you kind of like, you know, help like just kind of get a lot of damage in and maybe get a pick and stuff like that. With this Valk, especially because you have this Cassidy with this damage boost that's like staring you down, you kind of like want to play a lot lower, right? And I say this to a lot of like Mercy players. With your Valk, you don't just want to fly up to the skybox and be like, hey, look, I have the Soulblind skin on, the best one in the entire game. Look at how pretty it is. Like you never ever want to do that, right? Instead, you want to kind of like use a lot of like the beam, like I think it's like 1.3 seconds off the top of my head, where it's like you keep a beam connected with like with an ally before you like go behind cover, and then you have to re-peek it. You can literally just sit here and do this on top of this if you wanted to, or around the sides and stuff, like and like change directions for like where you're peeking from and stuff like that. He was going to use high noon, so I tried to back down into cover. Is this what you do now? Yeah, that you did it perfectly there, but it was like that's exactly what's it called? What you should be doing for the entirety of your Valk. That's what I'm getting at, right? Where it's like it's good that you've done this. Like this is perfect. Like especially because you're expecting the high noon and stuff like that. This is a perfect use of cover around here. You could literally use the cover over here, like what I was saying before. But it's like during your Valk as well, because Cass with a damage boost, I believe he can just 2-tap you with a damage boost. I think is it 195 for a headshot with Cass if it's like quite close range and stuff like that. So you definitely still want to be like playing these covers and stuff like that, and playing like around here a little bit more. I like this rotation round, but the same thing, it's like you need to play a little bit lower. Lovely use of high ground though. I love that you're trying to get the pistol out, but I think that, yeah, you just need to back out. I like how you don't commit with your Genji here even, just kind of like go back. The Genji's fine. Yeah, I'm just about to say, you should be able to spot him, which you did. Very, very nice. I think here, you don't ever really want to like play in this specific spot as Mercy. And the reasoning is that people can literally, prime example here, could just like come up the stairs and just shoot like here kind of thing. So it's like you can, what's it called? You can literally kind of just back off and play like a little bit more like around here. Because you can like jiggle peek this wall and stuff like that. Try to make the ice, but it's too late. Yeah, it's alright, Tyler. Honestly, it takes you like, I think 20 bullets. It used to be a full clip. But it takes a lot to kind of like break a main wall. So don't worry, unless if like one of the pillars is like already like nearly broke, don't worry about it. Or you have like the rest of your team to kind of like, try and break it. Just don't worry about it, let it go. Just kind of either find a different route to get round to them, which I don't think you could have done where you were, or just what's it called, go around and stuff like that. But yeah, so here you don't want to be positioned here. You kind of like want to be round the back here. Maximize that beam length as much as possible because you are safer when you're at max beam length and stuff. Because yeah, you can literally see with that thing. Lovely going to try and like help with the blade here. Sadly, he kind of gets melted and stuff like that. I think if he communicated it better... This is risky. Okay. You get it off. Fair enough. You kind of like dove in with it and stuff like that. But I guess because of the main wall kind of blocking people off and stuff. Perfect. I think here, instead of you being in front, you kind of like want to kind of back it off. You can leave the robot for like 1 second just to kind of stand still. And basically wait for your tank to come forward, which I'm hoping you'll do in a second. Because at the moment, it's like you're pushing the robot and you're kind of like frontlining right now. And now you're kind of like putting yourself in a bad position. At least like with that part. Lovely positioning now. But you have to kind of remember, like, you don't need someone on the payload for the entire time. Lovely peel for your Moira. Nice damage boost on the Bastional. I think there I would have helped the Bastion instead. Because you were kind of like looking around, it's like, oh, should I help the Moira or should I like do it? And you kind of like had this like moment. And I could literally see it like in your eyes and stuff like that, where it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And in the instance where the Moira is in her coalescence and stuff like that, she's gonna have a lot more self-healing and stuff like that. So instead you can come and help your Bastion. Either like come like jump over and play like around here, or whether it's like you come and like play around here and stuff like that. You can basically come and like help him. Because your Moira has a lot, unless if she gets like rocked out of it or like stunned out of it, which I don't think there's anyone on the team that can actually cancel her coalescence, right? So she's pretty much going to be fine. So you need to go and help your Bastion. And I think sadly you did end up realizing it at like the last minute, but it's alright. Sad with the May wall, but you did very nice to kind of like position yourself like around it and stuff like that. You're getting just in too deep again, so you can't really do much about that. I think this is more like a back out. Yeah. Okay, we're using coalescence. Sorry, flux. Beautiful escape though. No. Oh, you should have just kept it out. You should have literally just what's it called, kept it out and like carried on. Because I don't think there's really anything else you could have really. I'll carry on going. I don't think there's really anything else you could have done there because I wasn't expecting him to flux, and because it's a 2v5 and it was like, oh, let's flux, and it's like, okay, You did very, very good though. My only thing is I would recommend kind of when he wants to go for the lift up, damage boost it, and then you can carry and heal him afterwards. The reason it is because Flux, you can only damage boost the lift up. You can't damage boost any parts of it. And then you should just kept the Glock out and like tried to get him, you know, and back off to that health pack, which I think you were doing, and then you kind of like gave up. I like how you use Valk in order to get out. It's the same thing where it's like I feel as though you have this kind of thing where it's like, I have to push the payload. I have, like, he constantly has to be moving. Like, we always have to be getting distance. And it's not the case. In fact, the majority of the time, you want to be able to win a team fight and be in a kind of like a safe spot before you start pushing that payload, right? And it feels like we kind of saw it a lot here where it's like, oh, and then you saw him and then you kind of like dove away and stuff like that. When in reality, you have a Sigma and Bastion that can sit on it, right? Unless if you're being like a payload princess when people have like pushed forward and you're left there shouldn't really be another chance where it's like if you have other members of the team that can push the objective, then let them do it, right? Like Sigma and Bastion are doing right now. Just let them do it, and you play from over here and stuff like that. You shouldn't be the one to push it here, and you kind of like making it was like I need to push it when you don't, right? I love this damage boost though. Lovely damage boost until he like gets a little bit critical and then going for the health pack and stuff. I think here you can play in this room to be even safer because it's the same kind of scenario where you have people on the point. Just play off into this room. You can jiggle peek these corners and stuff like that. Do a little backwards GA in and out if you need to like desperately like help someone. Because it's kind of like a thing. But lovely damage boost and stuff like that. At this point, I'm hoping you go up to your team. Yeah. Lovely waiting in cover. But yeah, I was just about to say, I think you can see that your Sigma was going to go push it and stuff like that. That should have been a super jump there. That should have been a slingshot, which I think you kind of like understood as soon as you heard the high noon and went straight for cover, which is perfect. But in order just to save that, maybe kind of it pops it a little bit sooner and stuff like that. That should have been a slingshot there and stuff like that. But that's only really like one of like your first like what's it called movements errors, I guess. Like you seem really like confident on that. Lovely GA out. A place where you can GA there, by the way, because it's a little bit safer. You can GA up to here. A lot of people do not realize that this part exists. But you can literally reach people like where like this Lucio is. You can reach people like that on this like little piece of high ground here, and it's a lot safer. And if you need to, you can back out to the health pack, which is down here. But it's because obviously the enemies can kind of like come from behind you here and stuff like that. It's actually a lot safer to go up here on these like little spots. A lot of people don't realize they exist, but they're really, really like cute and stuff like that. I didn't see it. A lot of people don't know it's here. Like, and it's the same on the opposite side as well. It's like the corner part where like the bot comes up. You can like stand on it. The other issue is like just be careful like people flanking you. So I know a tracer can double blink from this section here and go like 1-2 blink like really quick to get up here, and then can like shoot you and stuff like that. So just be careful with that. But the like for example, Cassidy can't get up here, right? Unless he gets like the maids come like wall him up and. But then again, like when it's not gonna happen, so you kind of just like play over here and help him out. It kind of like saves you from what's it called. I think that's just really unfortunate though, especially because like your team are resetting and stuff. But I think if you knew about that spot, then it would have been a little bit better and stuff like that. Anyways, I think this is more like a reset now, especially because a lot of your team died before and everything. We have the payload forward, so it's alright. I love you just like, what's it called? Go to say hello to your, what's it called? Okay. I think this like whole thing is just turning into a bit of a mess, right? I think, personally, if this was me, right, I would just allow these two to get back out. And just kind of get out and stuff like that, and then do whatever. And you just kind of go in main with your Bastion and kind of like wait for a regroup, right? It just feels very weird, this part, like this whole thing, especially because your warrior's coalescing now. But you know, you do the right thing of like damage boosting it and stuff like that. And once it's kind of over, lovely kind of like backing out and stuff. Lovely slingshot back to where you should be as well. Lovely backing to kind of like help your Reaper. Lovely peel as well. It's the same. Okay, that was your fault, I'm gonna say, because it's the same thing, right? Your Sigma's still very, very healthy and stuff like that, right? So it's like, and even though he's being focused by a few people, he's still very healthy. So get someone else to counter that, right? And damage boost his Bastion. And obviously he did end up dying to like the Mei and stuff, which I think you did kind of realize at the last second. It was like, oh my no, oh no. But really, especially in your team club and stuff like that, he should be your main priority. Like your Bastion should be your main priority to like kind of like keep alive, especially because it's your pocket target and stuff. But nice like res, especially like around the cover and stuff to kind of like help afterwards. I don't know whether this Valk was needed because obviously what's it called? You've kind of like won the fight and stuff, but at the same time it's still not what's it called? Not bad to ever like kind of pop it and stuff. It's the same thing again here where it's like you're still very, very focused. I don't think it was. I could see why you did it and stuff like that. And I think I would have probably done the same and stuff like that. It's kind of like more like a hindsight thing. It was like, oh, well, I shouldn't have done that, you know. I do it all the time in game. I'll like pop a Valk and I'm like, I should have done that. But, you know, is what it is. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to have like 100% efficiency with like your Valks and stuff. Here, you kind of like, once again, you have this eye on this payload. It's always like, oh my gosh, payload. Look at this beautiful robot, you know, kind of thing. In reality, you should be kind of like with your Bastion a little bit more, right? You want to be damage boosting your Bastion and focus on him. Sadly, your Moira dies and stuff. I think you pinged it though, saying that you couldn't res it, which is great. It's the same thing where I think you could make use of that high ground a little bit more, but it's okay. You need to damage boost your... Okay. You're very focused on healing your Sigma again here. As soon as your Sigma was like kind of like above half, or like getting more above half, like with his grasp and stuff like that, you want to be flicking your damage boost onto your Bastion again, right? And then you kind of like want to be like juggling beams between these two now. So you want to be damage boosting the Bastion when the Sigma's quite healthy. As soon as the Sigma starts to drop, then you want to be trying to help him and stuff like that. Lovely like GA away though. Damage boost that Bastion. Okay, I loved your positioning where it's like you came around here, right? But then you kind of like hung about here for too long, right? You should have instead, as soon as your GA was back online, come back round here, right? And then you can help your team safer, and you're also going to be out of the LOS this high noon. Obviously, I think, yeah, you're going to drop just about. Lovely damage boost there. You could have just stayed where you were there. There's no need for you to GA there and stuff like that. You could just stay there. But yeah. Same thing again where it's like you don't like you're kind of like putting yourself in a risky scenario where you don't need to be with this payload again, right? You can just go forward with this Bastion here, and then what he'll probably do is set up turret on here, and you can kind of like help him. And I think you will do that in a sec, hopefully. You've missed out on the opportunity, right? And it's because you're too busy trying to like push the payload and looking to see what the enemies are doing, when in reality you're actually gonna get so much more value if you move forward and stay with the Bastion and damage boost him with his thing here. Obviously, the Mei wall is going to go up, but the damage boost can just mow it down again. And I don't know if you get a pick or not, but you definitely will get a lot more damage into the team and stuff like that if you were there. Nice signaling that your ult's ready, though. This, yeah, that was a very nice Valk when you used it and stuff like that. Lovely playing away, though. It's the same thing where it's like you're still playing very out in the open. Like with this Valk, you can bring it. Oh, this goes from it to fly back all the way over here. But you can play it down here, right? Or you can like play it around this building, and you can play it around obviously this wall or this part that was around here and stuff like that, right? Just purely because it's once again where it's like you're really out in the open. If you want to like GA over here, this was like I do like this GA all the way over here, especially because your Valk's ending and stuff. And then you can kind of like back around and just kind of play up here, use your angelic descent, maybe some like prop jumps and stuff on this wall. You don't need to res there. Whenever it's like a scenario like this and it's just you alive, don't go for the res, right? Because if you get the res off, most likely you and whoever you're res, you're going to die, right? So you've basically just staggered them as well as, well, not so much yourself because you were going to die anyways, but then you've just staggered whoever you're going to res, right? And also ruined the death stats, which some people get annoyed about. But yeah, no, especially in like a scenario like this where it's like the whole team, their whole team's back, your whole team has died, just you remaining. Just get your pistol out and just maybe try look for a pick, because sometimes if there's someone that's still weak, you can like maybe get someone. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you basically just want to like die here, basically, you know. So don't ever res when it's just you that's left, unless it's like an overtime scenario where like someone can actually like change the team fight and stuff. But it's alright. Alright, we're going back in. Sadly, I can't see what the time is or anything like that because my stream things. Oh, we're in overtime, alright. Love the slingshot over to the, like, the side of the cover. Lovely help with this bastion and stuff like that. At that point, hold on, I want to see if your GA was, what's it called, on cooldown or not. Because, so here you don't want to be positioned where you are, you kind of like, you want to be positioned where you GA to and stuff like that. And then here you kind of just like want to push the damage boost a little bit more than what you were doing and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to have a look. Is your GA, no, okay. So your GA isn't on cooldown here. As soon as you see this Reaper Wraith in and look like he's going to blossom, just literally just GA in and just kind of, you can like slingshot it over here if you need to and just damage boost him like mad, right? Because this will end up like helping clear the team fight quicker and stuff like that. But yeah. Because it said you kind of like left healing on like your Sigma and stuff. Lovely use of cover again. Lovely damage boost on the Sigma because obviously the Bastion's being walled off. Did you have a GA there? Let me check. Because I don't think you could have like really done very much more if you didn't have a GA. Hold on, so we should have gone in and damage boosted there, but that's okay. Yeah, you had a GA available, but I don't really know targets. Oh, okay. I think it's a hard one to tell because he kind of just like walks past everyone and nobody turns around. Like normally, like what would happen is like people will like turn around and help you here. I think like if you backed off a little bit sooner, you might be able to do like a quick like GA away in order to distance yourself. But at the same time, I don't know whether it would have like saved you or not because he did kind of just walk past everyone and stuff. It's just unfortunate. I'll see how it plays out. It looks like you're going to win this fight though, so it doesn't really matter that much. And yeah. So overall, Tyler, like, your Mercy's strong, I will say that. Like, it looks like you know the mechanics of Mercy, which is really, really good. You understand the mechanics. You're very, very good with your positioning the majority of the time. In fact, no, it's so weird because your positioning during fights is actually really, really good the majority of the time. My two kind of big things, takeaways I want you to improve on is remembering that you do not need to be the one to push the payload or like the robot or whatever. You don't need to be on there 24/7. It's not like we constantly have to keep it moving and stuff like that, right? Especially in scenarios where it's like you have more than 3 people on it or you have your tank and your DPS. You then need to find like a better piece of cover and stuff like that because the majority of the time the payload isn't going to be your best source of cover, right? There's very few maps where like at specific points the payload is your best cover. Because I'm talking specifically like about like, you know, when like you've won a fight and then you're wanting to push that payload so much, but in reality you don't need someone to be on it all the time and just kind of leave it for someone else to do. And then my second thing is your Valks, right? Because your Valks are really, really good by like crouching down in order to avoid the high noons and stuff like that. But you want to be using that cover all of the time, not just specifically for the high noons and stuff like that. Because if you're in a high lobby, right, the Cassidy will be hitting those shots consistently on you, right? So instead, you want to be using that cover. Get used to kind of using your Valk with more cover and like kind of like peeking with like the little beam breakage and stuff like that, doing little peeks in order to get your beam on and off and stuff like that. But overall, like it was very, very strong. Like your damage boost usage was really, really good. But it's just kind of like. It's kind of like that thought process of you don't need to be on the payload all of the time. You know, you want to push forward with your DPS at certain points, like the Bastion. where it's like you're pushing it up to like round the little swirly bit. You want to be with your bastion and damages that bastion. You know, there's no need for you to be on the point there, kind of thing, because you have the Sigma. But I hope that helped, Tyler, and thank you so much for everyone on YouTube for sticking around and watching. If you enjoyed, once again, you can get your own channel, like you can get your own VOD review. Sorry, if you save up 5,000 channel points on my Twitch channel, and then I'll do it live, and then obviously it will get uploaded afterwards. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. Bye.